Support for this podcast comes from Alston Carlisle Digital Content Studios, your source for photography, videography, and podcasting. For more information, go to alstoncarlisle.com.
What it do, good people?
Good morning.
You are tuning into the Real Therapist for the Culture. I am Sophia Cox.
Dr. L here.
We in the building.
What's up, yo?
We in the building. I like your shirt, HBCU made.
Yes, HBCU made. Shout out to Hope and her squad.
Yes, man. Yo,
they shout us out a lot.
They really do. And I've been trying to order some stuff, and it's like sold out, sold out, sold out.
Oh.
Like, come on now, come on. Like, I feel like I need a whole separate area or inventory just for the Real Therapist for the Culture. Like, we do hoodies all day. I don't want a t-shirt. I want hoodies.
I can wear a graphic tee every single day.
I'll have a hoodie on and a graphic tee underneath. Like, come on.
Yes.
So, yeah, shout out to you guys. Y'all are doing your thing, and we love it.
February, what's up?
It's February, and it's moving very, very...
You think so?
Very quickly for me.
Oh, let me say happy birthday to my grandmother today.
Hey! Woo! Happy birthday!
81 years old today.
81 young years, man.
Absolutely, absolutely,
That's
absolutely,
That's a blessing.
absolutely blessed.
She lived during like damn near the roaring 20s.
Yeah. I was asking her like, how many presidents you lived through?
Yeah.
And this was at a point in time when my father told me she was demented.
Don't start.
That's a whole nother fucking episode. Yeah, she ran through.
Yeah.
She ran through all of them. Like I was like, who's the first president you voted for? So she was going through, and then she was just freestyling. I was like, damn, that's rich.
Yeah.
Like when we get to be that age,
Yeah.
I don't know what we gonna be sitting here saying about the shenanigans occurring in this. Yo,
exactly.
Just the mayoral race in Baltimore, me and my client was laughing. It's not funny. We was laughing yesterday about it. Like, this shit is getting so juicy. Like, they stealing signs.
That's what I'm saying. Like, should this be juicy? Like, should this be, let me get my popcorn and a glass of wine to see what fucking mockery is going to come of this?
It's so much. The one candidate, I'm not saying no names, but the one candidate who got punched in the face outside of the town hall meeting, that was one thing. But the comments, because life is in the comments of these posts, somebody was like, oh shit, he lost my vote. My mayor got to be able to throw them hands. I was like, this should not be so dramatic.
Yeah, this is, and you know, I remember being in college because that was the first time that I was able to vote, and I was like doing this whole thing, looking in the mail for my absentee ballot.
I was gonna say, did you absentee or did you go back to New York to vote?
I couldn't. My mother was starting to shut me down because I had a boyfriend. I was going home every weekend, and it just was like, nah, homegirl, you're doing a lot. And I was like, no, it's vote. And she was like, bullshit. You coming here to see this dude, and you trying to squeeze in a vote. So I did an absentee ballot, but I remember this whole thing, like, what if it doesn't get counted? I mean, I was having anxiety about it. Like, it was a big deal. And I remember particularly people of color saying that shit don't count and I'm not doing it. And I used to be like, what? Your voice is what it is. And here we are in Black History Month. And I'll be lying if I say that my for politics is just like,
it's decreased.
yeah, man. Even down to conversations. And, you know, it's like, don't talk about religion. Don't talk about politics and your fucking kids. But I find myself removing myself from conversations. I also find myself just not being and informed enough about these candidates. And a part of it is just taking my hands off of the news too. And there's a whole piece that I'm affected by. But I just don't believe in the system anymore. Oh. And that feels really sad for me because I don't feel like I'm that old. I don't feel like I lived through that many presidents, especially because many of them did multiple terms. But I'm like, I just feel like almost hopeless.
We need to, and we invited, and I'm still not saying any names, we invited one of the mayoral candidates to come on the show and haven't gotten a response back. But
that don't mean it won't happen, right?
It might happen, but I think that's a good conversation. Yeah. And today's topic, I guess, ties into that because my thought, we need y'all to send us in some topics you want to hear about.
So you know what people do? This is the bullshit that y'all do. I'm talking to you listeners, right? We'll say a topic and they'll be like, yeah, that was good, but y'all should have added this piece. We give you guys the platform to say what you want to hear.
Like send it in. So
I did get some feedback and I want to share it because I think that this may be happening. 2 people sent me something and they said, I don't know how to turn it into a topic. So they sent me the issue per se. And I said, that's fine. You could send the issue and allow us to do it. We'll turn it into a topic. So some people have said that, like, I can't figure out how you can make this a topic. So tell us what's on your heart, what's on your mind, and we'll shift it we'll pull it. We fucking pull therapy or mental health out of everything.
Exactly. And so that's the thing too is, it's so many, we've covered a lot of things, but it's so many subtopics.
Yes.
Like I was thinking, we just having a conversation today, but I was thinking about me and Sophia, we have to figure out what we're going to talk about every time it's our turn, right? And so on top of feeding our kids, washing our ass, seeing clients, right? So,
yeah.
I was thinking about Dwayne Wade is getting all this smoke right now about after he went on Ellen and this, and I was like, we talked about that already, but it's at a whole different it's at a whole different level.
I think we need to remind ourselves of that, especially for me, because it's like, oh, we did cheating, so I can't come back to it. No, there was so much more of that.
We gotta bring the Fatherhood Project back in here, because at first it was just nail polish. Now we got a whole transgender
her
12-year-old. She's like 9 or 12.
I want to say 12.
Okay. And so
but don't hold us to that, guys.
But that is bringing up a whole lot of issues. And that's a whole conversation.
Yeah, it is.
So we not repeating. It's subtopics to topics, whatever you got, throw it at us.
Yeah.
But we in February.
What you got?
And we said we Blackity Black. So we need to talk about, and we're here for the culture. And we have not, this isn't like blacks and mental health type of thing. This is how does the Black experience contribute to mental well-being? Sophia, tell me the demographics of Brooklyn. Like, how is Brooklyn?
Yeah.
How does it go? See all these hands?
Exactly. So we should have got my father on here because he's struggling with the dichotomy or what's happening of the breakup of
gentrification happening in Brooklyn.
Yeah. So Bed-Stuy, where my father was born and raised and still lives, it was primarily just Black people.
In Bed-Stuy.
In Bed-Stuy.
Okay.
So Brooklyn, so it's hard to do that with Brooklyn.
So tell me Brooklyn.
Brooklyn is huge. So Brooklyn is the whole size of, bigger than Baltimore. So Brooklyn has these different pockets. So you might have Flatbush, you might have Bed-Stuy, you might have Brownsville, you might have East New York. I'm still missing tons of areas. That Brooklyn, Coney Island, like Brooklyn is huge. So Bed-Stuy was, one of those areas where it was a lot of black people. So even though it was projects, you had these brownstones. So it's kind of like who made it owned these brownstones. But then, like I said, it was tons of projects. And now you see, you know, you have these little cafes on a corner. That was a corner store.
Oh, okay.
So it's very mixed now. You in the 80s walk down, if you saw one white person and on the trenches of Tompkins Avenue, you would be like, hey, they must be coming to visit someone's home. They must work for BCW.
The people.
Exactly. Exactly. Or a teacher who's doing some, you know,
home visit type
exactly.
shit. Okay,
lean on me type shit. Now you come outside and everyone's walking their dogs, and they have like the potty, the doggy things on each corner where telephone booths were.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, like I said, it got the Wi-Fi in front of this cafe. And so it's not a Starbucks, but really swing kind of thing. So there were always areas that was pretty diverse, but Bed-Stuy wasn't one that was as diverse as it is now. So you will see all ethnicities.
Are there any areas in Brooklyn, or were there any areas in Brooklyn when you were growing up in the 80s that were primarily white or primarily Hispanic or Asian?
Yeah, definitely. So like Bensonhurst was one where there was like a lot of Italians, but that they had one of the better swimming pools. So, you know, we would be on 4 buses to get across town, but it was like all the Italian restaurants, family owned businesses. So you definitely knew where the pockets were. Flatbush was one that had more West Indians and, you know, a few white people sprinkled here and there. And there is not really no area, even in Brownsville. Brownsville is like, it's the gutter, you know, take chains off. Like you may get robbed there. Even walking through Brownsville now, it's like, oh shit, look at all these white people sitting in the park. Like,
Sophia, when did you realize you were black?
When I moved to North Carolina. So I moved to North Carolina for a brief period when I was in the
third grade,
second grade. I went to this school called Pearsontown Elementary, and I wanted to be a brownie. And my grandmother was like, so I really moved there because my grandmother moved, and I told my mother, like, she can't live by herself. Now, mind you, she wasn't even old then, but please let me go there for a while. So I told my grandmother, like, I gotta be a brownie. Like, this is just what we do. And we went to the orientation, and I was the only black kid there. And they were like, oh, you know, are you in the right, you know, meeting? Because it was multiple meetings in the building. And I guess some might have been some fucking lean on me experience. And then it was the brownies. And my grandmother, like the diva she is, like, yes, we are. And, you know, just her proper corporate world kicked in, and we sat there and filled out, but I could see the tenseness in her face, and that was what I read. Not so much, because like I said, even in Flatbush, we had sprinkles, and I kind of always saw white people or, you know, around, but her face to their questioning of her.
That's when it was. That's when the light bulb went off.
Shit, something's different here. They were asking about money more than they were asking if we needed like a payment plan. Because you know, Girl Scouts is expensive, but it was like
I couldn't be a brownie. My father told me no.
But no one, everybody was taking their cards out and putting the information right there or coming with cash. I never heard anyone else asking about how they were gonna make the arrangements. But my grandmother, serious, we went in laughing, and just how tense, and she has a tone. So when her tone, I know she's in corporate world, and the way she was speaking, it was like, oh, this is different. I really feel like that was my first time of, oh shit,
I'm black
indifferent,
right? Because that's what it means,
yes.
Right? And so,
and I had on urban clothes, and they had on like fucking like Dickies, and they was just dressed different.
So this was the first time that you realized you was a minority also. Okay. And so Albany so Albany is made up of parts. And so Albany is uptown, downtown.
Okay.
And you have Pine Hills, and that's it. Uptown, downtown, Pine Hills.
So is Pine Hills not uptown, downtown? Is it, or it falls within one?
So it's past uptown.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So Pine Hills is before you get to SUNY Albany.
Okay, got you.
And
I think I applied for SUNY too. Just side note.
A lot of New York Cityers,
because they was like, just have it as a backup. And I was like, well, damn.
So that's that's another one of my questions too. And so so from kindergarten, so here's the background, because my shit is real complicated. So for people who don't know, my grandmother is 100% Caucasian.
Yes.
Right? 4'8", Caucasian lady, right? And she was raised in orphanages. Her and her siblings were raised in orphanages in Troy. Troy is across the Hudson River from Albany. And her and her sisters like black men. And that's just it. I remember asking her about it. Like, you ever date a white dude? She was like, ugh.
That sounds like some Kardashian shit. They invented this.
They think they invented that shit. But anyway, so I knew my grandmother was white. And I knew I wasn't white.
Right.
But I don't think I knew I was black.
Got it.
Right? And so from kindergarten till some of third grade, we lived in Pine Hills. And we went to schools were zoned. So you had to go to school in that zone. So the school that we went to was primarily Caucasian.
Got it.
Never in my mind did I realize that I was the only black kid in the class. First grade. In second grade, there was a boy. He ate glue. He was black. He just ate glue. And
you didn't want to associate with him?
I was like, yo, you're fucking stupid. You're eating glue, right? And he was never clean. So it was
and
just
now
me
we
and
know
him.
he fucking probably had pica.
Right. And so halfway through third grade, we moved to Uptown.
Wait a second.
We moved to Uptown, and I started going to a new school, Philip Schuyler. And everybody was black in the class, right? But that's when I learned that I was light-skinned. People started to call me light-skinned. So in a class with all Caucasian students, you're black, ho. Right. That's it. You're black.
Period.
Right? But now I was light-skinned. And I'm like, I'm not light-skinned. What the hell, right?
Yeah. And
so I started to learn the differences a little bit there. But some of the prominent things that made me realize that I was different, my grandmother being white and having all of these black grandkids.
Yeah.
We used to do weekend trips to Kmart, Caldors, Favor, Ames. That's what we used to do.
I have a picture damn near like Angelina Jolie walking through the supermarket with these fucking black kids. Like,
in short, right? So we all the same size, basically. So we're walking through and
not all of y'all are light skinned either.
So my first cousins, most of us at that time were light skinned. So, but still, to me, my mother is light skinned.
Right.
My mother, she posted some shit on Facebook. She might be listening. She's like, did you see what I posted? It says that I could pass for Brazilian.
I can see that with that jet black hair.
Get a life. But anyway, so to me, my mother's light skinned.
Right.
And so I remember us being in a store and they thought we was my grandmother's foster kids.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And my grandmother is a Spitfire, and she went off like, what the hell are you talking about? These are my kids. These are my grandkids. And I didn't know what was happening. And I remember asking her, and she kind of brushed me off like, people are just stupid. And so from her perspective, having had her kids in the 60s and having her kids by black men, and they lived in the projects in Albany, she dealt with that often. Right. So for her, it was just like whatever. But I think that's when I started to realize, and you know what I started to do? when people used to see me, because my grandmother lived right across the street from school, they would be like, who that, your babysitter? I'm like, that's my grandmother. Oh, your grandmother white? Yes, my grandmother white, but she know how to cook collard greens.
So you started defending.
I started defending it. And it was just like, and it happened probably around like 3rd grade. So I was about 8. And it's interesting because in my research that I was, reading some stuff online, it says that kids start to learn that there are racial differences at about age 7.
So I told you, I took ZJ away for his birthday, and it was so interesting because this was the first time that I seen the shift. You think that from toddler age till about 5 or so, kids just want to play.
Right.
They don't care what you look like. You could dead be purple, and it's like you agile. Let's just move kind of thing. You almost have to be missing a limb for them to say, okay, what's wrong here?
Yeah.
My son just turning 6. We're at this resort, and many people were Spanish speaking, and he started to isolate himself, and he is very social and just wants to play. So I was like, what's up? And he was like, they don't speak like me. And I was like, and how is that making you feel? And he was like, sad, because I don't have anybody to play with and they don't understand me. And there was one little girl, Jalissa, cutest little chunky thing ever. She was trying. So she asked me, did I speak Spanish? And I'm like, oh, poquito. So I helped them at least, introduce each other with name, and that was enough. But the first 2 days of his experience, he wanted to engage in conversation, and that was the reminder for me. This is where it's introduction. Like, what's your name? What school you go to? What's your teacher's name? As they're playing. So this was the first time where he got to see there, a language barrier could impact him, and he also knows that. So he calls these 2 kids in my neighborhood his brothers, but one is white.
Got you.
And I just hear him. We've been here for almost 2 years, and he just used to say my brothers, period. And now it's like, hey, did you know that he's white? And I'm like, oh shit, like I wasn't expecting it yet. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, and his mom and his dad. And I'm like, yeah, the whole family. I'm like, so is it any different? He's like, no, it's still my brother, but I just didn't know if you knew. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, do you feel like it's any different? And he was like, no, but just the conversation. And like I said, I think it was started by realizing people speak different languages, and that could be a barrier as far as how you connect with them. So it's interesting. Like, I know you said like 7, 8, but these kids is different. So even at 6, I was not anticipating that already.
Absolutely. And so one of my questions, you started to get there, but we both went to HBCUs, right? What influenced you to go to a HBCU?
So I feel like that's another time I realized I was Black.
Or did you realize you wasn't Black enough when you got there?
Yeah. A little bit of both. Because, so here I had these different experiences where, 2nd, 3rd grade with the whole brownie thing, but then and that's why I think it's so important about how we deposit just what's the word I'm thinking of? Like just a confidence in your children.
Yeah.
Because even though I was in this classroom with one Black girl, Natasha, but she had been there so long, she ain't really fuck with me like that, but it felt good to see someone who looked like me. But I was still confident. Like, it's okay. I'm still meeting the standards with them. I'm good. And then coming back home, I came back to Brooklyn, back to my norm. My high school was such a salad bowl.
Okay.
Like, really, I mean, we have our 20-year reunion coming up, and it's a reminder of just Middle Eastern and just Eastern, Western, all bodies were there. So when I went to college, it was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I've been here 4 years where, these my homies. Like, we in pajama day, hugged up, we coming to each other's homes. Like, and then it was like, I'm black. Like, I'm black and I'm back around all black people. May have one white teacher here and there. It fucked me up a little bit.
Got you.
To be honest. And then going into like a African diaspora
Fleetwood.
class, and I'm like, whew, I love you, but I don't know shit you saying. I don't get it. I don't know anything about this diaspora at all. And then I started to have like resentment of the system, like of school. I didn't fucking learn about this.
Like a period of like rebellion.
Yeah, in a sense, like I wanted to do like I had perm, so I wasn't going that hugger-tree. Like I wasn't going natural and shit like that.
But you don't have a perm anymore, and I never thought.
Yeah, me neither.
You would be, and I was thinking about that. You know how random thoughts. I was thinking about that yesterday. Like, did you ever think you would not have a perm?
No, I judge people who was natural. Like, why the fuck you keep coming outside like this? Like this looks crazy. And now here I'm like,
letting it all loose.
Yeah, it's bugged out to me. But I wanted to take a stance. Like I wanted to go back to the schools and revamp the system. Because I'm like, why don't I know any of this? Any? Now, you know, of course, college is going to teach so much. But felt like I didn't even have a baseline. So I had a rough transition that first year.
Did you
at
feel like
HBCU.
you belonged?
So that I did. Because, you know, they was doing nigga shit. Like... gambling outside of my dorm, and that was
up your alley, right?
Yeah, it was. Like, you know, they wore similar clothes, even though, you know, you had DC and you had Baltimore and
pair of Suco jeans.
Exactly. And PG, and you had all these different areas and people who was even coming from different states, but it's still kind of, I felt comfortable. I felt extremely comfortable. I didn't feel as judged because in the other systems that I had been in, at the academic level, there was always, I felt like, some level of competition. I didn't feel that as much. It was happening. You know, you had the West Indians that was in the corner like,
watching.
Okay. Oh, what she got? Nope, can't hang with her. You know, so they had their whole little...
Yo, wait a second. Do you remember when we was graduating? Now, they don't do this at Morgan anymore.
They don't make them stand up?
They don't order them in line based on your GPA.
Which is good. That's good that they don't do that.
I'm glad they don't do that too. But if you were, when we were graduating, I went to pick up my packet and I went to the table for the summa cum laude. Mm-hmm. And a girl was like, oh, this is the summa cum laude table. I said, I know. She was like, oh, do you belong over here?
Ooh.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And so I told her my name. She gave me my packet. She gave me my card. The cards were numbered, 1 being highest and then down. And so my card was 11. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget it, right? And so I went to get in line, and I had to ask one of the West Indians to excuse me.
One of the West Indians.
And she was like, oh, you lining up? I was like, yeah, right here. And she was like, oh, I mean, I knew you was smart, but I didn't know you was that smart.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. So that's a whole issue.
Yeah, exactly. That's that interracial stuff that takes place. Or
exactly.
But yeah, so that's what it was. So it was happening within us, but it was more subtle. So it did feel comfortable. In a sense, but of course I drew to people who...
What looked familiar, what felt.
Exactly, geographical kind of thing. Like, oh, you guys are from New York. Oh, you're from Brooklyn? Yeah. I felt like I needed comfort being... Now doesn't feel that far away from my family, but then 4 hours was like, oh my gosh, like I'm alone, you know? Right. So that was comforting. So yeah, I felt black, but I didn't feel that I was a woke black person.
Wasn't woke.
Or just wasn't aware.
Okay. And so when I was thinking about it, I was like, well, how did you end up at Morgan, Shug? One of the reasons was my sister was there. Mm-hmm. But my sister being there opened the door to one of the poor stigma I had in my mind. And so when I changed schools, so did y'all have AT in New York, academically talented?
I believe so, but it was called something different.
So they had did away with it probably after I graduated 6th grade. Like I was probably the last, because we was like the class of 2000, right? Mm-hmm. And so My sister was always in AT, and I always say how naturally smart Deanna is. Mm-hmm. And when we were in school 16 in Pine Hills, I never thought I was smart. Like, I was regular.
Yeah.
I just was regular, right? And so then when I went to Phillips Schuyler, curriculum is the same. It's New York State
exactly
curriculum, Hartland Mifflin books we reading through, and I'm raising my hand and nobody in the class is raising their hand.
Yeah.
And so I ended up being the only kid from that third grade class to go into the AT.
Got it.
And it was about 5 of us. 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. It was 5 of us. They thought we was special ed. Like, because, you know, special ed had their own little classroom. Yeah. They thought we was a different type of special ed. And so my experience was that I wasn't around a lot of other Black people who were labeled as smart.
Yeah, yeah.
And even in being in calculus and pre-calculus in high school, it was like, you in that class? Mm-hmm. How you end up in that class? And so I was a little chicken head at the same time. So that's how the people
that's how you gonna water that down. You a little chicken headish now. What were you then?
Okay, wait, I had a chicken head moment on Instagram a few weeks ago. Did you see it?
Some shit that said, keep calling my phone, like
so one of my friends from Albany was like, what the hell? They got you acting up? I was cracking up laughing. And I was like, yo, people don't know that I used to be a chicken head. And she was cracking up laughing. But anyways, so I grew up not associating smartness with Blackness.
Yes.
And so when my sister went to Morgan and her smart self being in Harper Tubman with all of the other smarty pantses and, you know, visiting her and her crew was little nerds or whatever, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's Black smart people.
Yeah.
And so that, like, and on top of just wanting to be with my sister, I was like, I want to be somewhere where there are other smart Black people.
Yes.
And so that is something that I was looking for. But also when I got there, I don't know if you remember this. I think this is before we had connected, but we had classes. I used to wear head wraps all the time.
Yes.
It used to be like
all the way at the top. I found the picture the other day, like, what was happening here? See, and that's the thing. That's what I wanted to embrace, but I'm like, nah, I
was wearing head wraps, and that's when I became a vegetarian.
Yes.
And I had stopped eating meat, and I was finding myself.
That's what I wanted to do. I just couldn't figure out how. I needed to still gamble. I still needed to do, you know, what came natural to me. But in my mind and in my heart, it was like, this is what I'm going for. Like, I just want to wear African garb all the time and then embrace this experience for me. It just didn't happen. It didn't happen. But what I do remember in high school, and we should have Venice on here. She talks a lot about this in her book. But our guidance counselors were subpar, prejudice. I could go on and on. But I remember I felt like I was pretty smart, and I didn't have a lot of HBCUs on my list. And I remember one time, I mean, she got real buck with a lot of people, and this is probably as buck as she got with me, is she said, oh, you don't want to add any more historically Black universities on your list? I'm like, what? I think I had 2. I think I had Morgan and Hampton. And Morgan actually wasn't originally on my list, but I went with Venice and her dad and another high school friend to visit. And that's when I was like, oh, I think I slept on you guys.
Okay.
And then added them. So I think that I only had maybe Hampton on the list at the time. And she was like, I see you got Harvard University on here, and you got this, NYU, and you don't want to add any more? And I remember I was I was nasty, not even chicken head. I was fucking nasty. I snatched my shit off her desk and just walked out. But I played tough with her. But when I got home, my best friend's mom was in college. So she was the one that was kind of like helping a lot with it. And I remember saying like, should I be putting a lot of black schools on here? And she was like, huh? Now, at that time, she was like an NYU graduate, Columbia at that time. So she was in all kind of, non-HBCUs. But she was like, no, if that's not what you want, you have grades that could, get you in wherever you want. Right. So don't. But it fucked with me for a while where it was like, well, maybe I should. And I didn't. I mean, Morgan, I ended up adding Morgan after I went to visit. But I was like, should I be at a black school?
Made you second guess yourself.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly. And I was like, well, I didn't know what to do. And that's where, so that's probably why when I got to Morgan, that still went with me. Still just like, who am I? Where do I belong? And what do I know? What do I walk into? What do I embody?
Right.
And it was like, she fucking planted that seed.
Got you.
Like, this is where you should be. This is where the rest of y'all are going.
But the converse is, why shouldn't you be there?
Right? Exactly. But it wasn't, I didn't express to her that desire. Yeah. So who the fuck asked you to kind of put that on there?
Or even not knowing the thought behind that suggestion of,
right, exactly.
That's the only place that's gonna accept you, because that's one of the poor assumptions about HBCUs is that they take anybody.
Right. Exactly.
And that's not necessarily the case.
It's not.
In my own opinion, and I think I reflect this a little bit as a professor, is professors tend in our day at Morgan, I feel like they were harder on us because for that reason, like you're not gonna come here. I remember Dr. Baton, rest his soul, I had him for English, and he said, he was like, who didn't read the book? And people raised their hand. He was like, bye. He made them leave.
Yeah. In
this day and age, it would have been a whole protest. It would have been a whole grievance issue. He said, you're going to leave because you're not going to be in here if you're not going to take this seriously. Yeah. You're not going to be in here wasting anybody's money. And so it was a higher, like the bar was set, like you're going to perform. You are here.
Exactly. You're going to move in excellence in spite of what people are thinking. And I'm thankful for that, because then another Black experience that was difficult for me is when I transitioned into grad school.
Did you realize you was Black again?
Yes.
This is the never-ending process of realizing your Blackity Black.
Hell yeah, because here I am. I'm accepted into a program where only 19 people were accepted and 4 were Black. So it's already a small cohort, and then it's only a few. And that's how the classes sat. The 4 of us kind of sat over here, and the rest of them sat there, and they would invite each other to Bill Bateman's and shit like that. And I used to be like, why the fuck we never get invited to Bill Bateman's? I like Bill Bateman's. Like, I don't drink beer, but I like their wings, and we never was included until a Black professor had called it out. Like it was a cultural diversity class. So it's like, what's with this? I watch you guys do this the first year, and it's the separate, but I had a really first year, and there was one professor, she was white, and I felt really connected to her, and I ended up asking to meet with her during her office hours, and I said, I feel inadequate. Like, here I'm getting like 80s, and people are showing their 90s, and I mean, this white lady, like, I fucks with Dr. Quimby. I know she's not at Towson anymore, but shout out to you if you went back to Maine, wherever you are. And red face, she said, let me tell you something. I probably shouldn't do this, but I think you need this. Because I was in tears at this point. At first, I went in just to get feedback on maybe I should get some more studying tips for grad school, whatever the case is. And I got emotional. And she said, you're the only person who has been, no, because we had somebody else from Morgan also.
Okay.
You two are the only one who knows APA format. People are giving us papers with fucking butterflies. This is just how hard she went. Giving butterflies in the front that say to and illustrated by, like you in 5th grade. She was like, you have come prepared here. So please do not compare yourself to anyone here. This is a counseling psychology program. What I will tell you is many of of them are memorizing, but you are taking in these tools. And don't ever forget that. You're going to be a whole different clinician from them. And I was like, yeah, I think so. I think so. And I stand firm in that now. But in that moment, I felt the competition again. I felt like, do I belong here? There were people who was like, I'm here from Georgetown. I'm here from Hofstra. I'm here from here, blah, 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 blah. And me and one other was like, I'm here from Morgan State University.
Damn.
And there was somebody else who was from another fucking college that I remember looking at her like, Hood? Where the fuck is that at? You know, but...
Hood College is in Albany, isn't it?
No. It's like... it's in this area, but up somewhere. Yeah.
Okay.
But I had to look it up. Okay. But I felt like the black people was only saying fucking schools that they didn't really know about kind of thing. And I felt insecure. And I felt like I have to keep up with the majority. And that first semester was rough until I just was like, you know what? I'm going to talk to somebody about it. And I chose the professor, and she brought that shit right into alignment for me. That's like, know who you are. You come with skills. This is not, no offense, but this is not a social work program where we accept 120 people. We were clear that we handpicked everyone here.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was a reminder for me, like, so every time it would be like, I am from Morgan State University, mad extra when it came to introducing, because I used to be like, shit, should I be doing butterflies? And I thought about Perino saying, I wish you fucking would hand a paper in with some color and a binder and a cute folder. Like, what?
Yes.
So I feel like I've had multiple of, oh shit, I'm black.
A whole nother experience.
Yeah.
So with you guys, so Sophia and I was not in the same cohort at Towson. I had went back to New York, which is when I realized I was black again, because I went back to New York and I was in a program at Sage, and Sage colleges, Russell Sage is all white people. And I had just came from embracing all my blackness.
Yeah.
And then I had to tone it down. But then, like you said, I was questioning, like, why the fuck do I need to tone it down? Like, I've learned these things. These things are not untrue, right? And so when you had to pick these paper topics, and I want to focus on African Americans in my paper, it didn't get the same. Yeah. It didn't get the same positive feedback as it did at Morgan. And so then I came back to Baltimore and I went to Towson, right? And we had the same makeup in our cohort. It was 3 of us, all females. Me, Shani, and Sequoia all went to HBCUs, Spelman and Bowie.
Yeah.
And me and Shani was very pro-black. We was real tough with it. They gave us black culture. We didn't want to do in the diversity class, the cultural diversity class, and you had to present, and everybody had a different
immersion experience.
We did the African American. We didn't want to, but Dr. Brooks was like, y'all need to. Yeah. And she said to us, this is your moment to educate and share your knowledge with other people who are here, because they're going to be counseling people who look like you, and they need to understand what's encompassed, everything that's a part of it. And so that was a point. And then when she sent me to Westminster, she sent me to Carroll County to interview for my internship. Yeah. And I'm driving down that long ass road, and all you could smell is manure. It's cows. Before I got there, I was like, no. And I came back and I was like, I can't do it. She was like, LaShawna, I'm telling you. Now, Dr. Brooks, little Jamaican descent, and her little natural afro, and so soft spoken. And she's like, you are going to do it because you need to. And I didn't want to do it. But again, I was thrown into a situation where I was the only black person there, and I hadn't been in that space in so long. And so, like you said, I had thoughts of being inadequate. I felt like I could provide a different service to African American clients because the minority population, and minority includes Black, Hispanic, and everything that's not white. It's only 15% in Carroll County. And so I felt like I could provide a service in a different type of way, but then I was the token Black therapist.
Yeah.
And so when people would come in there and they would see me, they would be like, is she a therapist? I want her. And I felt like I just got all the badass Black kids.
Right.
And it was it was so hard.
Yeah.
It was so hard. And so, you know, Sophia and I have been sharing just our experiences, and we haven't said, oh, I was depressed, but these moments, what have I heard in our conversations? Self-doubt, feelings of inadequacy.
Yeah, insecurities.
You know, those insecurities of not feeling like you match up. We ain't touch on the differences in complexion because that brings about a whole different ridiculousness, you know, within the whole experience. What got us through? Because some people, so it's so funny because if depending on what scene you see us in, I want to post that picture of us from your birthday party bad
with my tongue out.
No. The one when you was driving the boat.
I thought about it.
I want to post it so bad because Sophia and I have so many different personalities.
And we super corny as we get older. Like, you cannot tell me I am not hip, yo. My husband posted the TikTok and they like, Soph, you killing it. I'll be like, y'all gotta stop doing that because I would keep thinking that I am young.
I gotta show you my TikTok. So
when I heard about the driving a boat and I had a birthday party and it's not in a public place, I'm like, oh shit. Because, you know, and not that my friends are fancy smancy, but just depending on their careers, we don't put ourselves in really, really bad situations that somebody else could kind of use against us at some point. Right. But I'm like, here we are in private, and private meaning that, you know, around family. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I am driving the boats. There's one picture where my face is screwed up. Like, yeah, you. I'm holding their neck, trying to like make sure that it don't spill. And I mean, it was beautiful.
It was good.
It was good stuff. I think we should post it. I think they should just see.
We can. I think we can. But anyways, you know, some people were not able to push through those moments.
Absolutely.
And some people said, I don't belong here, and went back to their corners. And now are afraid to come out. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Some people have declared, I don't belong in college.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so although we've just been sharing experiences, again, how do you think you got through those moments?
So, of course, the first thing that came to my mind is like God. But let me tell you why I'm saying God. I felt God planted people in a human form that supported me. You know what I'm saying? So I could go into this person, but I felt like it was like perfect timing that they were like aligned. So even down to that first situation in the brownies, there was one person who I just felt so connected to, and just the glimpse at her, or a gentle hand touch as we was trying to build a fire, just kind of gave me a sense of peace and some kind of courage, and you here for a reason. So I felt like every one of those situations, there was someone that gave me some support, and many of them may not even know it because it wasn't like Dr. Quimby's was a specific speech about color and race and knowing who I am, but not all. You know, at Morgan, Dr. Perino, this little white lady,
4'8".
Exactly. You know, like, so it wasn't even just about the experience took place with somebody Black, or it was just someone. But I also realized I would not have been able to receive that if I didn't share something. So it took me being vulnerable enough to say
what was happening.
Exactly. Without even really being able to articulate it, just saying like, I feel uncomfortable here. Mm-hmm. And just that kind of opened the door for these people to be here. Dr. Quimby was in grad school, you know, Dr. Perino might have been an undergrad. This lady, I can't even remember her name right now, but at the Brownies and different times in life, once I went in my career and it was like, oh gosh, I'm at the table with all these big wigs and I'm presenting, and now I got to go to court with the masters and judges kind of thing. So it was always someone that ended up provided some kind of almost mentorship, even if it was only one conversation. That's how it felt for me. And that's what really kind of allowed me to keep digging in and tapping into the truth of just who I was or who I am.
Got you.
What about you?
And so I'm thinking about it, and I'm trying to figure out at what point I decided that I've always had this personality where I just did my thing and I didn't care what anybody said about it. And I feel like my family, they cultivated that. Like, you know, it was okay. I remember when we were in school 16, the white school, I don't know what grade it was, but it was picture day. And all my friends being white, they used to wear headbands, and they used to like take their headband off all day and push it back, and take their headband off and push it back,
just like that,
right? And my mother did my hair some type of way for picture day, and I took a headband to school, like a little plastic one, took my hair out and put the headband on, and I took that picture with the stars in the back, and when I tell you my afro did this and my mother got them pictures back, I think that was the pivotal point where my mother was like, fuck it, do whatever you want to do, LaShawna, be whoever you want to be. The afro was here, and I ain't have no teeth forever, and I look back at that picture and I'll be like, who you thought you was, Sweat? right. And I feel like from that point it didn't matter, like it was okay. And so it was like, you wanna wear something that nobody's wearing? Go for it.
Yeah.
You wanna. I was into like reading, and my friends wasn't into reading. I'm taking all the money to go to the Scholastic book fairs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And because at home and in my family, I was free to be that person.
Okay.
I didn't, even in moments of second guessing myself, I still had that. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like, be who you want to be. Who cares? Type of thing.
Do you think that our line of business helps promote that? Because sometimes if I share that with someone, it's like, it's hard to do that in the government. You know, like I remember my friend, like, I can't go to work with these cornrows and I got to deal with these white men
All
and stuff
of my
like that.
friends and line sisters who went straight into the government after graduating said that very same thing.
Yeah.
All of them have natural hair now.
Yeah.
All of them. And
but that's so that it took some work, the journey, right? Always comes back to the journey of getting to that place of, even, you know, on one of our shows, Stephanie was saying that just about just being married to a woman and saying like, I'm still getting to that place because of my work environment and not wanting to feel, you know, wanting to feel accepted. And it's like, should I do this? And having a mentor that's even saying like, fuck it, I do it. You could do this.
My daughter's grandmother was like, I had went over there and I might have had on some ripped up jeans. She was like, you was off today? I'm like, no. She was like, your client's okay with you wearing ripped up jeans? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why I was saying, like, I wonder if the line of work we do kind of fosters and promotes that even more. Because think about it. You telling people all day, accept who you are, honor who you are, trust yourself and love yourself. But I'm sitting over there all stushed with a fucking shirt buttoned to my top. Like, look at this. Look at this. I got a graphic t-shirt on and ripped up jeans. This is what I'm saying. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, I feel like my career definitely supports it even more. Like,
absolutely.
Because embrace what you trying to sell.
Absolutely. Being different is it's okay no matter where your difference lies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it's race, whether it's religion, whether it's culture, you know, whatever. It's so funny because Journey doesn't like when she talks about her friends, and I'm like, is this from white or black? And she was like, why are you asking me that?
Yeah.
I was like, I just was wondering.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm glad they're your friends. I was just wondering. And so she doesn't really acknowledge it. She doesn't acknowledge it. But her teacher is Jewish. And who also is Teacher of the Year for Baltimore County.
Oh, wow. That's a big deal. Woo. That is really good.
Shout out to Mrs. Kaminsky. And so, you know, when it was the holiday, we got her a Hanukkah card, and I had, you know, I was like, okay, what is appropriate to buy someone for Hanukkah? Got her some chocolate, some candles, you know, and she was like, loved it. But then Valentine's Day came, and they was calling it Friendship Day. And Johnny was like, I want to get Mrs. Kaminsky something. And I was like, well, I don't know if she celebrate Valentine's Day. And she's like, Mommy, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish or if you're white. It doesn't matter. She loves coffee. And I was like,
you're right.
that's it.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to say Happy Valentine's Day.
Exactly.
If you want to give your teacher a Starbucks gift card and just say,
Yeah.
here, go get you some coffee, then, you know, absolutely go ahead. And so in the mind of children, if we would just be.
They remind us daily.
Just be.
That's why sometimes, you know, and I'm guilty of it too, just kind of hushing my kid in a moment because I'm rushing and today's Thursday and got to get out the house quick. But if you really listen to their conversations, they remind us of things that we forgot because of experiences. And, you know, today's conversation, we talked about our Black experience mainly in collegiate level and things like that. But really, like, kids will remind us because the climate that the country is in right now, there is a lot of racial tension.
Yeah.
And so even, you know, we not making it seem like it's such an easy process. Like, you know,